Let's have a look at Revelation chapter 1. This is such a great chapter in a great book right at the end of the Bible. Revelation chapter 1 really sets up the book. It is the revelation of Jesus Christ, which Jesus sent through an angel to John. He sends an angel to John with a message. Then John is to pass that message on to 7 churches. Now look out for the number 7 in the book of Revelation. It is significant. It just keeps appearing. The first appearance is in verse 4 here, that John writes to the 7 churches. Then we also find here 7 spirits, 7 golden lampstands. There are 7 stars in the right hand of Jesus. So look out for the number 7. Then in Revelation, there are symbols. It's sometimes said it's a book of symbolism, but some of the symbols are interpreted for us. So it's not correct to say it is so full of symbols, we just can't ever find out and have a consolidated view on what the meaning is and have consensus on the meaning. That is not true, because some of the symbols are actually interpreted for us. Jesus reveals here that the 7 stars are 7 angels. The 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. Later on in the book, we find that there's a woman with the moon under her feet. That is clearly Israel. And then there's a great red dragon, which is clearly Satan. So don't be put off by the symbolism. Some of them are explained for us. But the most striking feature of Revelation chapter 1 is the stunning appearance of Jesus. He appears to John here, and his eyes are like a flame of fire. Isn't that something? His voice is like the roar of many waters. What a great simile, a voice that's like the roar of many waters. And John says, out of his mouth came a sharp two-edged sword, and his face was like the sun shining in full strength. Oh, this is a very different appearance of Jesus to what we find in the Gospels. This is a very different persona. He does not appear here as a little child. He does not look like an ordinary man. No, this is the radiant Jesus. This is the post-resurrection, post-ascension Jesus. He's majestic. He's striking. He is stunning. And this vision of Jesus has an effect on John. He actually falls down at Jesus' feet. Isn't that appropriate? What a sight he is confronted here with the Son of God. And this sets up the book, because Jesus in the next 2 chapters sends 7 messages to 7 churches. So he's appeared to John as radiant and majestic, and as someone who has something to say, and he appears as Jesus with great authority. He actually declares here, I have the keys of death and Hades, and he commands John twice to write down these things. There's actually 2 imperatives here. Write them down. Write them down. They're both commands from Jesus. So, how should we respond? What's the application? How ought we to respond to this chapter? Well, I want to just suggest 2 things. This chapter ought to compel us to worship the majestic Jesus. To do what John did and just fall down before his feet. That would be one appropriate response from you and me to this chapter. And secondly, to listen. Jesus clearly wants to be heard here. And as we go into the 7 letters, next time we see that he keeps saying, he who has an ear to hear, let him hear. So that's something we need to get from Revelation 1, but also the whole of the book. The great authority of Jesus, the majestic appearance of Jesus, and that he wants to be heard. May God move us to worship the Son of God and to obey him.